Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Ayer Select Board meeting for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. Due to remote participation, I'd like to read the governor's statement first on open meetings. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Baker issued an emergency order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from their requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be broadcast live on Channel 8 and on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by following the call-in information on the bottom of the live broadcast screen. For Zoom meeting information relating to remote participation, please contact Cindy Knox, the IT director at cknox@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 123. Or Carly Antonellis, the assistant town manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 100 prior to the meeting. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Were there any changes from the board for the agenda as it was presented?
I have no changes.
I have no changes. Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Livingston?
Aye.
How do you vote? And the chair votes aye. The agenda is approved as was presented. I do not have any announcements for this evening. Our first order will be for public input. Is there anybody on for public input today? Okay, without hearing anybody, I'll go ahead and move on to the next order, which will be from our treasurer, tax collector, sorry, I can't speak today, Barbara Tierney.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
Guys.
Evening.
Good, thank you. So the reason we're here tonight, I'm here tonight is to vote on the authorizations for the Spectacle Pond financing. Does anybody happen to have the vote handy to read, or would you like me to read it?
I think we have it.
It was,
Is it
I think, in the
packet?
packet, yeah. So the clerk generally reads it.
Right, so you want me to read what's in the packet? Oh, here it is. Okay,
The
I
vote
see
of
it.
the
Yeah,
select
starting
board.
on, looks like
Yep.
page 3.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you.
Vote of the select board. I, the clerk of the select board of the town of Ayer, Massachusetts, certified that at a meeting of the board held February 2nd, 2021, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present, the following vote was passed, all of which appears upon the official record of the board in my custody. Voted, 1, that the town shall issue a bond or bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6,052,983, the bonds, pursuant to chapters 29C and 44 of the general laws, of which $2,812,983 is under a vote of the town passed October 28th, 2019, Article 2, which authorized a total borrowing of $3,570,000. $2,630,000 is under a vote of the town passed June 15, 2020, Article 11, which authorized a total borrowing of $2,630,000 and $610,000 is under a vote of the town passed October 26, 2020, Article 5, which authorized a total borrowing of $610,000 for the drinking water project identified in such votes, the project. 2, that in anticipation of the issuance of the bonds, the treasurer is authorized to issue an interim loan note or notes, from time to time in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6,052,983. 3, that each bond or note shall be issued as a single registered security and sold to the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, the trust, at a price determined pursuant to the financing agreement. 4, that the treasurer is authorized to determine the date, the form, the maximum interest rate, and the principal maturities of each bond and note, and to execute a financial agreement or agreements with the trust with respect to the sale of the bonds and notes, such date, form, and maturities, and the specific interest rate or rates of the bonds and notes to be approved by a majority of the select board and the treasurer, and it evidenced by their execution of the bond or notes. 5, that all action taken to date by the town and its officers and agents to carry out the project and its financing, including the execution of any loan commitment or agreement by the treasurer, are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. And 6, that the treasurer and the other appropriate town officials are hereby authorized to take any and all actions necessary or convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including execution and delivery of the financing agreement and the project regulatory agreement relating to the project. I further certify that the vote was adopted at a meeting open to the public, that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda of the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above vote, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of the town clerk is located, or if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.03/2-B, at least 48 hours, not included Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remained so posted at the time of the meeting, that no deliberations or decisions in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes were taken in an executive session, and that the official record of the meeting was made available to the public promptly and remains available to the public, all in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18 through 25, as amended. I further certify that the vote has not been amended, supplemented, or revoked and remains in effect on this date, dated February 2nd, 2021.
Yes,
Well done.
those are always
Good
so
job, Janice.
good job.
Some long sentences there.
They are.
Sheesh.
Okay, so now you just need to vote.
Okay. Do I have a motion, or are there any?
Don't make me read that again. Somebody could second the motion.
Okay,
I will
yeah.
second.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Board Member Livingston, how do you vote? Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And the motion is approved.
Thank you very much. So Carly has the paperwork that needs your signatures. I believe she's going to coordinate with you, and then I'll be able to proceed and move on with the financing. Did you have any questions?
I think it was pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
Thank you.
wonderful. Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Have a good day.
Have a nice one.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, and our next item agenda is our town manager's report. Hello, Robert.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Select Board. I hope everybody
Good
is
evening.
well.
What was that?
Pardon?
You were like, good.
Good evening. I hope everybody is well. You have in your packet all of the town warrants that were reviewed and approved since the Select Board last met on January 19th. In terms of the administrative update for this evening since January 19th, as the Select Board knows, because you're all involved with it, it's all things budget. I thought that we had a successful public forum on the budget last Wednesday, January 27th. and I appreciate the board's support on that and participation. And as we mentioned, the second forum is scheduled for March 8th for that. We continue to work on draft 1 of the budget, which you all have, and we anticipate to have a draft 2 shortly to the board and to the FinCom. As of tonight, Ms. Cabri, the finance manager, and I have identified about $250,000 in reductions from that budget you have. Of course, we have to take into consideration if we put the 300,000 in from the reserve fund increase that we discussed with the FinCom. But you'll see all of this in the second draft. And we continue to work on identifying efficiencies and potential reductions in the budget. And we'll keep you updated on that. Obviously, the document you have, if you look at the bottom line, it's just over a 4% increase from last year. Obviously, our goal is to be below that, and we'll talk more about that as we move forward. Lastly, on the budget, on February 5th, this Friday, Dr. Pigeon, the superintendent at the Neshoba Valley Technical High School, will release the budget for FY22 for the Neshoba Valley Technical Regional High School. You are all invited. It's on Zoom. I sent to participate. Usually there's a breakfast at the school, but obviously due to COVID, it's going to be on Zoom. You're welcome to attend. It's not required. I, of course, will be attending. I will transmit, as I always do, to the select board and the FinCom, the budget that she releases on Friday. So from that, we'll have another key piece of the budget, if you will, and have a sense of what that assessment is. At this time, there is a chance that there may be a slight increase because enrollment from Ayer has increased slightly, but that's not a given yet. So we'll see what Friday brings. Then we have the joint meeting, the Select Board and the Finance Committee, next Tuesday, February 9th at 6, at which Superintendent Malone and the ASRSD School Committee will present their FY22 budget. I anticipate that Dr. Malone, as she usually does, will transmit a budget book, which we'll get to you by Friday. I just have to confirm that with her. And that will be another key piece of the budget. Kevin Johnson, the benefits and payroll manager, has advised we should have the health insurance numbers by the middle of February and hopefully before the select board meets on February 16th. As mentioned at the forum, we've budgeted 12% as the worst case scenario, and we remain cautiously optimistic that that number will come in below 12%, which would also favorably affect the omnibus budget. So we're well into the process, as you all know. The capital was completed, as Selectman Hood, the chair of that committee, those recommendations. At this time, we don't anticipate any changes to that, but we have to get more into the process. I know that Selectman Livingston later tonight will give an update from the rate review committee, which is in full swing as well. So again, all things budget, all things remain stable and positive as we move through the process, and we'll continue to keep you updated. And lastly, on the budget, as I mentioned, for the public, if you go to the town's website, under the town manager's page, the first tab is 2022 budget. If you click on there, all major documents and materials related to this budget and the budget process are there. If there are questions or some additional information, as I said last Wednesday, and will continue to say, do not hesitate to contact us on that. Lastly, just for the board's benefit, we did have quite a storm today. I'm pleased to report that things went very smoothly from DPW. There were no major issues. I think they did an excellent job, as they usually do. The police chief reported there was one minor truck accident, no significant injuries or what have you, more of a sliding issue. And DPW also reported, unfortunately, one of the decorative street lights on Main Street got clipped, which we seem to have that happen like an annual tradition, one or two during that. But at this time, everything went well. Fire chief, there were no major issues, so we're in good shape. And I understand there were no power outages, which is always great. If there aren't any questions on the administrative update, I'll move to the COVID-19 update. Things remain status quo, as the board is aware. Ayer remains classified as a red community, but if you look at the map, that seems to be, unfortunately, the case throughout the Commonwealth. I'm pleased to report that the first responders vaccination clinic that was sponsored by the Neshoba Boards of Health last week went off without a hitch and was a success. So this was all first responders, firefighters, EMTs, police, and dispatchers from the 17 towns of Neshoba Valley, including Ayer, received their first vaccine between last Wednesday and last Saturday, and it was held at the Regency at Boxborough. That was very successful, and they are scheduled obviously within 30 days for their second vaccination. So that was positive development. The big thing now, is the board's aware of, and the level of frustration is very high, not only in Ayer, but across the Commonwealth and frankly across the nation, is about the vaccine overall. The biggest challenge is, as you know, we've moved into the phase where individuals above the age of 75 and or 65 can pre-register for the vaccine. The biggest challenge is there is not enough vaccine right now. And I participated in a meeting, but before I get to that, where we are now is all of the COA directors, and I've been in contact with our COA director, have been asked to put together a list, and they keep some of this information, but to put together a list and begin to outreach to seniors to get them teed up for when these clinics start and the vaccinations are available. So we are doing that in coordination with the Neshoba Boards of Health. I did participate in a meeting this morning on Zoom with my colleagues from the other towns in the Neshoba Valley, and everybody was in the same boat. The frustration is there is no vaccine. That's the limiting factor in all of this. We have the personnel and the expertise to set this up. And I should note, as the board is aware, members of our fire department have participated in this clinic last week in administering the vaccine, and we appreciate that. And we have a lot of dedicated individuals, not only in Ayer, but out throughout the region that can administer that. But without vaccine, that's the issue. So where it stands now, and this is coming from the state, every board of health gets 100 vaccines a week. And this is obviously a problem because, as you all know, at that rate, inoculation will take forever. We're hopeful that is not the case. We have an added challenge, and that's why we had this meeting this morning, but this issue of parity. And what that is because we're regional health, board of health with the Neshoba Boards of Health, which is a good thing. The state only gives the Neshoba Boards of Health a certain amount of vaccines, say 100 a week, the same as, say, the town of Acton, which has an independent professional board of health, they get 100. The problem is you divide the 100, say, by the 17 towns, and everybody gets 10 or 12 vaccines. So what the plan is, what we need to do on our end, Neshoba is prepared. They're the professionals to do the clinics. That was proven during the first responder clinic. Our challenge, meaning all of the towns here, is to the extent we can, put influence on trying to get the vaccine and more vaccine. And of course, everybody's trying to do this. And the three major issues is, one, this parity issue, meaning, okay, you're going to give 100 to the Neshoba Boards of Health that has 17 towns, but then you're going to give 100 to, say, Acton or a town that's independent. That issue needs to be looked at. The second issue is, if you look at a map, North Central Massachusetts, my colleague, the town administrator in Berlin, said it best this morning, it's a vaccine desert from Fitchburg, Leominster, and Gardner in the west to Lowell, Lawrence in the east, that whole north central region, there's no state major clinic. Like there's the one set up at Fenway, there's the one set up at Gillette, there's one out in Springfield. The challenge that we're hearing is a lot of seniors especially, but people don't have the ability to get there. And there's sort of a hole, if you will, in north central Mass. So one of the other things is, what can we do to get the state to put the appropriate geographical equality, if you will, on this issue and put something in north central Mass? So the next steps, the Neshoba Boards of Health and my colleagues are going to have another meeting, and that meeting is going to include the state delegation and hopefully some folks from DPH, and have a discussion about what can we do to get the vaccine here, because that's the biggest challenge. We have lists, we're registering people, but there's no vaccine. And that, I think, starts from the federal and state level. Once we have this meeting, I'll of course keep the select board updated. And I think when we meet again, I would respectfully propose that the select board, when we have more information, would be looking for at minimum, probably a letter from the select board. We'll have more information and be obviously looking forward to your support, which you've always given us, and we appreciate that. So that's the big challenge we have now on COVID-19. We want to continue to do all of the masks, social distancing, all of that. Our plan overall, both for the town and the regional school districts, is working well and is effective. We now enter this next phase, which is the challenge on the vaccine. And it's just, they can't get that out soon enough. And our hands are tied, Neshoba's hands are tied to an extent. So hopefully we can make some progress in the next 2 weeks on that. And as things change, we'll keep you updated on that. Any questions on COVID-19 update? If not, my third item, which I sort of touched upon in my administrative update, so I won't be redundant, is the FY22 budget update. I sort of touched upon those major dates, and I'll send out, they're on the budget calendar, but I'll send a reminder to the select board of all of the dates. But I sort of touched upon the budget update and the administrative update. Are there any questions on the budget?
No.
Okay. And then the last item 4, which is the only action item tonight, and you have a memo in your packet, and for many of you, this isn't anything new, but the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission requires that every year the select board, as a licensing authority, vote to certify their seasonal population increase. And as we've touched on before, but for the public's benefit, this seasonal population estimate is really more applicable in a lot of the tourist towns of the Cape in the Berkshires. Our seasonal population remains what our population is, which on the form is at this time 7,519. So we would be looking for a roll call vote from the select board to just approve the 2021 seasonal population increase. And it's for signature by the board. And I know that Ms. Antonellis will coordinate in getting the signatures.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion on it?
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the 2021 seasonal population increase estimation form.
Seconded.
Okay. Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So the motion is approved.
Hey, members of the board, as always, thank you. Thank you for your time and this evening. And that concludes my report to the board.
Great. Thank you, Robert. Our next item is under new business, and it's a rate review committee update from Board Member Livingston.
Hi.
Aye.
So the rate review committee met on January 26th. The biggest thing I want to point out is that the rate review committee is going to present their recommendations. Nothing has been finalized at this moment. As far as the water sewer rates, I believe it was going to be in March. So we would like to set a date for March. So I'd like you to consider some dates. I also request that when we set the date, as you're creating the agenda, that you make sure that you give ample time for the public hearing, for the rate review. I don't want it to be like crammed into a 10-minute thing. So please bear that in mind when building the agenda, because in case, people have any questions or anything like that. So I just want to point that out. So I would like, maybe to think of some next dates. I think the last meeting of March would be fine. Robert, do you concur with that? With the
Yes,
last meeting of March? Yeah.
yeah.
So that would be fine. Okay. No big news. I mean, we already talked about the zero interest water trust loan. We went over the proposed FY22 water and wastewater operating budgets. As far as that goes, no significant increases at this time, so that's good news. We'll go over more later. We are hoping to get a consultant, which I feel like we've talked about this a few times, a consultant to go over our rate review model, because it does need to be updated. But so far right now, everything seems to be going fine. Bag prices, we had not made a decision a couple of months ago on that. So that is a potential in a few months that there could be an increase, but there might not be an increase. So I don't want anybody to think there was. And there was a discussion of a possible recommendation of 2 new positions. That being a water sewer superintendent and a part-time assistant billing manager. Again, this is only in the discussion phase at this time. And of course, any approval would have to be with the whole select board. But the premise is that, we only have one Mark, and he kind of gets split up. This could be a big benefit for the town of Ayer to have the 2 superintendents. So that is, like I said, a recommendation. The part-time billing assistant manager, we have Pam, and then Pam Martin. She does a great job. She's always been around, but there's always going to be that chance where she sprains her ankle and she can't make it in, and we have absolutely no backup for her. So those are some things that, again, that are in the consideration phase. And of course, they would come before the board as far as any approval, and then of course, go to town meeting for approval. Other than that, everything seems to be moving along quite well. And I believe we're going to have our next meeting on February 23rd. And then again, the rate review committee will come in front of the board at probably the last meeting of March. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of let everybody know we had one and some of the things that can be discussed. And of course, the video is posted, I believe, on APAC and everything. So, okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item up is the approval of the meeting minutes from January 19th. I didn't see any issues or changes.
I didn't have any either.
Nope.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion.
No, go ahead, Janice.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the meeting minutes from Tuesday, January 19th be approved as submitted.
I will second.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
The chair votes aye, and the meeting minutes are approved. Great. Well, that's all we have for open session. Next item up is for the board to go into executive session pursuant to MGL 30A, Section 21A, Exemption 2 for non-union negotiations for the deputy fire chief contract. Do you need a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion that the board move into executive session pursuant to MGL 30A, Section 21A, exemption number 2, non-union negotiations with the deputy fire chief contract.
Seconded.
Okay, Board Member Hood, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board Member Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and we are now in executive session.